Hi out there, this is Cynthia Howard. Welcome to my show Freedom Cast. Today is Friday, October 13th, 2017, and we'll be talking about Children of Priests. It's an article that received widespread coverage in the Boston Globe here about 2 weeks ago, and it was a follow-up story from August of this year. So more of this information is coming out. We know about the past, what has happened in the Catholic Church with pedophiles and with sexual abuse, and this is another avenue that it is being told to a lot of people out there about what's going on, the truth, and that's what we need, the truth out there. There's one person by the name of Mary Bull, and she's 80 years old, and she has 3 children. She's been happily married for years and has just found out that her godfather, who was her priest, is her father. And there's an Irish activist who found out the same information through records, documents, and family information. But it was withheld from them for many years. Imagine finding out when you're like 80 years old that your father is a priest. My God. And then there's a couple of young men from Needham, Mass, who share the same biological mother, but have a different priest father. And they documented this in a book in 1989, which was a bestseller, but nobody really ever talked about it. It's almost like the Vatican had a hand in that to keep that information kaput. And then there's also this young man by the name of Adrian Senner, that his mother had an affair with a priest. She was a black woman, and he sued, but because of the Vatican is protected by religious freedom, it didn't come to any fruition. So we have these instances, and there's at least 19 more instances that we know of that have documents, proof, witnesses, and the like. So probably in the near future we'll be hearing about those as well. Now the Vatican, their spokesman is Cardinal O'Malley, and he's downplaying all of this. He's saying, well, there aren't that many. There aren't that many instances. It's not that frequent, and like Boston only has 19. But imagine there are 400,000 priests. Imagine all the large cities across the country. Imagine across the world. If you add all this together, we're talking about thousands and thousands of children who are conceived by priests. So it is a major issue whether the Vatican wants to admit it or not. And as long as these people keep coming forward as they have and as they will continue to do, when they see one person do it, they'll probably come out of the woodwork as well and bring that information forward. And then what is the Vatican going to do? They're going to have to publicly admit it and publicly apologize for it. But they do have an idea. They believe that if the priest takes care of the responsibility of the child and the mother's welfare, then all will be well, because they've done this in Ireland. So they have what they call is a Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, which will be meeting in January, and they're going to try to have some bylaws produced to protect these children. But I think that's just a band-aid myself, and no doubt O'Malley knows about it, because even though the novel The Thornbirds, it was based on fact and it was more fictitious, people are fully aware these things do happen. Affairs with priests and children conceived, and problems with nuns and affairs with priests, and all the sexual abuse that has come out in the last maybe 10 or 15 years. So maybe if the priests were allowed to be married, maybe that would diminish this problem. Just like ministers are married, I don't see why they can't marry. But there is a law from 900 years ago that the Catholic Church put into their bylaws stating that no priests are allowed to marry. So that's something they need to work with, something that they need to change for the betterment. And whether or not they will, that remains to be seen. But until that happens, you're going to have still instances of it, because if one priest, it's like a child or a criminal, if you're allowed to get away with it, it will continue. And for some of them, maybe it's just a game, I don't know. I don't know what their thoughts are, but to think that they can play God and just get away with it, that they're above the law, is very, very wrong, and they should be severely punished, for not taking care of the child, for not admitting the sin. Like they expect other people to admit their sins at confession. Well, it's about time they do the same as well. It's about time the Catholic Church starts, you know, stopping to sweep things under the rug and bring it out in the open and not play games and say that you know, it's really not that frequent as Cardinal O'Malley has stated, when it really is. And so we are left with all these people that their lives have been disrupted. Now, they thought they were the son or the daughter of their parents, and it turns out they were the son or the daughter of a priest. So this is just a horrible, horrible situation, and the priests need to be held accountable, no doubt. And Mary Bull, one of the victims, one of the children of the priest, has stated she believes that Catholics are ready to accept the fact that some priests, perhaps many, do not keep their promise to live without sex. And whatever the church does, it cannot hide all of us children in the dark chamber as it did, along with other secrets, meaning all the pedophile problems, all the sexual abuse, all the things that have gone on for years. Just like Hollywood's got their problems with Weinstein. Well, with Weinstein, we know things like that have happened. But priests are in a different parameter in that they're supposed to be near and dear to people and love people and take care of kids and be in a whole different parameter than a guy like Weinstein. But it turns out they're probably just as bad, in the long run, when they want to live in the shadows and have this secret life and not care about the people they're supposed to care about. So I do hope that they get a hand on this, but anytime you get the courts involved, it's almost like they have a protection on them being a religious sect, and that's not right either. But there can be civil lawsuits brought about by these individuals for their years of abuse, or their years that they haven't known the truth, and the priests have been living a secret life outside of everything else. And I do hope this is rectified. And for Cardinal O'Malley or the Vatican to protect these priests, it's entirely wrong, and it should not happen in this day and age especially. And I think with all the opening and transparency, with people on the computer, with people reading these articles, with people willing to print these articles, and with someone like myself and others willing to talk about it, it's making all the difference in the world. But it also says here that in the article that the Vatican can require bishops and the supervisors of religious order priests to follow protocols for dealing with priests who father children, but the Vatican is not held responsible for their actions. Now, isn't that ridiculous? Yet they take their vows and they answer to the Vatican on everything else, but yet it's like they're protected if they do something sinful. It's crazy. It's just crazy that they're allowed to do this. And again, like Mary Bull said, there'll be more coming out of the woodwork, because they're not going to live in a dark chamber anymore, and they're not going to their whole life was a lie, and they're not going to live a lie just because the priest wants them to. So thank you for listening, and I hope you're aware of this issue now more than you were before, and that we all have these issues in our lives to deal with, and I'm a lucky one that doesn't have to deal with it, but there are so many people that have been hurt by the Catholic Church, by all their sexual scandals and their sexual abuse, that, something has to be done to change it. And I hope people get together out there and do, and, make noise. And I guess that's all you can do with a church, is make as much noise as you can to get the word out there. Well, thank you for listening, and to today's Freedom Cast on the Vatican and the children of priests and how they're stepping out of the shadows and responding and getting all this information out of the woodwork. Thank you for listening. And tune in. Hopefully I'll be on the air tomorrow, and if not, I'll be on the air as soon as I can. And today is Freedom Cast. Thank you.